Good evening, everyone. We are live once again on three different platforms. Simultaneously, we are live at Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. And the topic that I have picked up to share with you all, very relevant, very important for the people who are in working in organizations, who are working professionals. That's the audience that I always look to address because I've been a working professional myself for many years. So I believe that I understand what are some of the challenges that they might be facing, and I'm here to help them through my experience. I'll be happy to have your question answers as we go further. You can ask them in between also. So I'll be happy to respond to your questions. The topic, let me start with the topic itself. Here is the topic that I'm going to share with you all today. Important hacks for career growth. Everyone who is working in an organization, and there's a huge number of people who are making organizations run, one of the things they always look for is how do I grow in my career? They may be doing a lot of right things, but they may also be missing out on certain things that they can start doing, which will help for their growth in their careers. And that's what I'm going to address in this session, in this live session today. So let us start. What is it that, as a working professional, you can start doing so that you rise faster than others in your career? One thing that I understand is, if all the working professionals start rising up to their potential, perhaps not only that they will rise in their careers, their organizations collectively will also rise much faster. So that is what the possibility that I always see. So the first thought that I'm sharing with you is, to rise in your career, the first thing that you must do is that you must stretch yourself. You must stretch yourself. What does it mean? Those who are working in an organization, what happens most of the times is that they are doing just enough which will sustain them in a job. They'll do just the work which is perhaps mentioned in their job description or which is assigned to them. They don't look beyond that. As we say that horses have those blinkers on, similarly, many working professionals work like that. They just keep their focus on what needs to be done by them, as assigned to them, as indicated to them. They don't look beyond that. So if you want to rise faster than others, if you want to grow in your career, one of the things that is easiest to is stretch yourself. And it is easy. It's not as difficult as some people make it out to be. Stretching yourself doesn't mean that you have to physically stretch yourself. Some of the examples that may come in terms of stretching yourself can be that you need to go out of your way. You need to go out of your way to do things. And sometimes it may require that you are there to help and support someone else who is going through a challenge. That is one of the things that you can do. Another thing that you may sometimes may be required to do is, you are required to stay extra long, a little extra time, and that is where you can contribute in terms of solving some problem or helping someone who is going through another challenge. So this is another thing that you can stay extra long. Another thing that you can do to stretch yourself is take some additional responsibility. One of the things that you can do is look out for people who are looking for their success, and can you contribute to their success, specifically your immediate bosses. If you can contribute to their success, if you can make their lives easy, that may require a little stretch on your side. Maybe someone is looking for information, you do your research and provide that information. Someone wants to prepare a report, and you can give your inputs for the preparation of that report, and things like that. As you do this, what is it that is likely to happen is your visibility goes up. You become more visible, and visibility is a great contributor to growing in your career. So this is the first thing that perhaps you can start doing. Second thing that comes to my mind is, which is, I have found this as a challenge amongst many people, is that they are not able to ask. Learn to ask. Whenever you're working in an organization, I always say that you may not have all the answers, you may not have complete information, you may not have absolute clarity, but unless you ask about it, how will you get to know that? And many people stop short of asking. They keep on guessing, they stay confused, they stay nervous, and that doesn't help them. So ask them. There's a beautiful quote that I have shared many times over, and sharing it once again, that it is said that if you ask, you may appear a fool once. If you ask, you may appear a fool once, but if you don't ask, you may remain a fool for the rest of your life. So, what is better? What's the option? What's a better choice? Obviously, it is asking. Now, why is it that people don't ask? My understanding is people hesitate to ask because they think that it will be considered as one of their weaknesses. It will be a sign that you do not know things. And let me ask you, who knows everything? Right? So that is why whenever you have a doubt, please go and ask. Let me give you a situation. So let's say that you are called by your boss and he says, Vikram, go and do this thing. And you say, okay, sir, yes, sir. This is the most common response that we give to our seniors. You say, yes, sir. You do not have the clarity. You come back on your desk and start guessing what needs to be done now. And has it happened to you? I'm sure something like this must have happened to you. So the best thing to avoid such kind of situation is that ask. Another perspective on this itself is when you don't ask, there are a couple of possibilities. One is that you may miss out on some aspect of the assignment that has been entrusted to you. You may compromise with quality, or it may get delayed also because you do not have complete information and you didn't even ask. So this is the second thing that you can start doing so that you grow in your career much faster with absolute clarity, completing assignments in time, giving them absolute quality, and so on. So this is the second thought that I'm sharing. Third important thought that comes to my mind is the opposite of the second one, which is express yourself. Now, what happens, again, you must have experienced this. As much difficult it is for many of us to ask, it is equally difficult for many people to express themselves. They have ideas, they want to say things, they want to contribute their thought process, but there is something that is stopping them. And what do you think it can be? You got it right, perhaps. What is it that stops them from expressing is their own fears. How will my idea be considered? What if everyone rejects my idea straight away? What if my idea is discounted? And this fear stalls them, stops them from expressing themselves. And my take on this is, unless you express, how will you know whether your idea was good or not? That is the first way to look at it. Second is, if you don't express, how will anyone know that you had this idea? On this also, let me share a situation with you. Ask yourself, have you ever experienced something like this? It is this that you are sitting in a meeting, in a conference, in a conversation, in a discussion, and the point that is being discussed, if there's a problem that is being discussed, let's say, how do we get more market share? And you are a marketing person, you have some ideas, but your own fear stops you from expressing, and a similar idea is expressed by someone else. And that idea is taken forward, that idea is implemented, that idea is accepted and appreciated. Now, who gets into the limelight? Obviously, the other person, even though you could have grabbed that opportunity to express. So, whenever there's an opportunity, you need to start expressing yourself. And let me share another perspective on that. Every opportunity that you get to express yourself is an opportunity to rise in your confidence level. One of the things that will help any person to grow in the career faster than others is what is the confidence level that you demonstrate. And every opportunity to express is what is going to help you in raising your confidence level. And if you are grabbing that opportunity, obviously you will be able to either, means one of the ways to look at it is you will rise in your confidence, and people will understand your thought process, what is the vision you have, what is the future perspective that you have, and so on. So start expressing yourself, and obviously when you express yourself, you'll get to know how clear your ideas are, how implementable your ideas are, and you can means you can constantly work on them to make them better over a period of time, isn't it? So this is the third thought that I shared. First one was stretch yourself, second one was learn to ask, third one was express yourself. Now here I would like to take a small pause and ask you, is there any question that you have in mind right now? I'm seeing some comments on Facebook. Gautam Sehra is there, who is saying good evening. So happy to be here. Happy to have you here in the live session, Gautam. So I'm just taking a short pause to ask all of you, do you have any questions to ask? Otherwise, I'll continue with my contribution, which I want to make today. So since I'm not getting any response at the moment about questions, let's go to the next one. Fourth thing that you can start implementing is take a role. Now, what do I mean by taking a role is, again, ask yourself, in terms of work, do you do only those things which are kind of given to you as a part of your role? Most of the people do that. And when it comes to taking any responsibility, again, most of the people shy away from that. Now, what are the opportunities in an organization when it comes to taking a role? Obviously, there are certain roles, designations, which are a part of the hierarchy. I'm not necessarily talking about them. There are many things beyond your own role where you can take up a responsibility. There are different types of groups of people who are working together to help the organization, not necessarily in terms of business, but in terms of creating a culture. Let's say there are cultural events from time to time. Are you a person who is interested in something like that? Some social gatherings, maybe some sports, and there are many organizations which are very, very active in corporate responsibility area. They are doing a lot of social work. And if that is an area that interests you, why don't you take a role in that? And that will help in two different ways. One, it will help you to network with many like-minded people within the organization. That is one thing. Second is, if you start getting associated with those things which are close to your heart, whether it is education of lesser privileged children, or whether it is taking care of elders, old age homes, or whether it is hygiene, sanitation, cleaning of lakes and water bodies, and so on. Whatever is the area of interest that you have, if you become a part of that, that will give you a sense of fulfillment. And there can't be anything better if it comes from the space of your work itself, because it will become easy for you to start getting connected with that kind of work. And there are many people who are taking active role in such events and activities, and they get a lot of fulfillment. Let me cite an example here. I know a family here where I stay, and on Sundays, on weekends, they look forward to those days because on weekends they connect with certain social activities which take quite a bit of their time, but that activity does not tire them. In fact, it perhaps energizes them for the next week that is coming. There's another example that I'm sharing. In our society where I'm staying, apartments where I'm staying, there's a lot of effort which is made on segregation of waste. Now, there are people who would like to do that proactively, but there are people who have their own resistance to this kind of work because it increases their work at home. So there are a set of people I know who have been doing this role of educating people to understand what is the importance of segregation of waste and how it protects the environment, supports the environment. Like this, you can start connecting with the activities. And as I said, if it comes from the workplace, there can't be anything better than that. And it will make you more visible at workplace. And as I said right in the beginning, visibility is something which is very important if you want to grow in your career. Maybe if you look at it from another angle, you can add it in your resume also, that what are additional activities, extracurricular activities that you're associated with, and that will help you, isn't it? So this is another thought that I wanted to share. Let's let me go through certain comments. Yes, we have a couple of other people who are attending this. They have said good evening, and thanks for your responses. And I'll be looking forward to, please start framing your questions. I'll be happy to respond to your questions. The next point that I want to emphasize is solve problems. There are two types of people that you must have come across. One is who always talk about problems. And there are another set of people, they talk about a problem only for a short while, but then their whole conversation starts getting directed towards finding a solution. And let me ask you, wherever you're working, are there enough number of problems to be solved? I'm sure there are. The question is, are you looking at them from the perspective of solving them, or are you just talking about them? And as I said earlier, there's a huge number of people who are perhaps better off just talking about them rather than solving those problems. And if you are one person, if you are someone who is a solution centric person, obviously you will be easing the pain of people working in the organization, easing the pain of management, and easing the pain of maybe some customers also. And obviously that gets noticed. So this is the fifth hack that I talked about: solve problems. Now let us go to the last one. First one was stretch yourself, second was learn to ask, third one was express yourself, fourth one was take a role, fifth one was is solve the problems, and the last one here is, let me say this, learn to say yes. And let me just add it here. So here it goes. Learn to say yes. Now, what do I mean by learn to say yes? Learn to say yes. Is it coming to your mind that when you say yes, your workload will suddenly increase? Not necessarily. And here I'm not also suggesting keep on saying yes to everything and anything. Don't become a yes man. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is opportunities come very silently. Are you aware of them? Are you noticing them? Are you observing them? Are you paying attention to them? And when you notice those opportunities, what's your response to them? Do you just ignore them, let them pass by? And haven't you heard this perhaps many times over, that opportunities do not come again and again? And that is why the moment you notice an opportunity, first thing that must come to your mind is say yes. Many times it may happen that you do not have an immediate solution or immediate way forward on that opportunity. And let me say this, it can always be figured out. Perhaps if you look at all the inventions that we have experienced in this world, all the discoveries that we have seen, progress in the science, in the field of science that we have seen, right? Those were not there at some point of time. And someone said, yes, okay, let me explore this area. And that's how we are experiencing them today. So this is what I'm saying to you. As you notice an opportunity, your first thought must be say yes to that, and then figure out how to carry it further, how to bring it to light, how to bring it to implementation. That can be figured out. And that is how you will be able to start differentiating yourself. When I say 6 hacks, understand what is my intention of talking about it. My intention only is that you become more visible. You become more visible in comparison to your own competition. And any person who is more visible obviously is a person who is looked at very positively whenever a position has to be filled, a higher responsibility has to be entrusted, a new project has to be assigned, a challenging role has to be given. Only a person who is visible, and who becomes visible for the right reasons, a person who is trustworthy, isn't it? And all the things that I've suggested to you, starting from stretch yourself, asking questions, expressing yourself. Then another one was taking a role, solving problems, learning to say yes. All these ideas are nothing else but those things that are going to help you to become more visible, obviously for the right reasons. And as you start implementing, putting these into practice, you will notice that your probability of growing in your career skyrockets. What I have started saying to myself is, and when I am convinced about it, I'm passing it on to you all. With the kind of work that I'm doing, if you start implementing those ideas, you will gain minimum 5 years in your career growth. You will advance much faster than others, and you will be in those positions much faster than others, minimum maybe 5 years. That's what I'm saying. You just have to start implementing. So what I'm announcing towards the end, I'll say that once again, but announcing towards the end of my conversation right now, I'm going to start a boot camp tomorrow, which is titled as Career Acceleration Through Self-Discipline. And if you want to gain some insights about what are all those things which will help you to accelerate in your career, I suggest that you register for that, and we'll be starting that at 7 p.m. tomorrow, every day, 1 hour for 5 days. And lots of insights are given as to what are those simple practices which will help you to start differentiating from your own competition and rise much faster than others. Now, I'm open to some questions. Let's see. Here's a question. Gautam is asking this question: if boss will not involve in another activity, however, he want to do it alone, what will I do? That's a very good question that you have asked, Gautam. Uh, why is it that boss does not want to involve anyone else? I'm not talking about you. A boss doesn't want to involve anyone else. Perhaps it's the insecurity of the boss himself. If I involve someone and someone else takes the credit, what will happen to me? That's precisely is the reason. So if your boss is reluctant towards that, I say that you don't need to push yourself towards that. What you can perhaps do is look for opportunities elsewhere where you can contribute. And as I said earlier, I have been a banker for quite a number of years in my career. There are ample number of opportunities, whether the unit in which you are operating is small, team in which you are operating is small or big, it doesn't really matter. There are enough opportunities where you can really contribute, and it's going to make a difference. So just look at it from that angle, and I'm sure that'll help you, right? So any other question that comes to your mind, anyone, I'll be happy to respond to that. And what I would like you to do is, after you finish this, or maybe even now, what you can do is maybe drop your comments, share it. What is it that you can do right now is, if you're watching on any platform, whether it is LinkedIn or whether it is Facebook or YouTube, just share the video with your network so that they start. See, what I always say is, if there is anything good, anything worthwhile, it must spread. And I can ask you to do that since you are here right now live. And Rakesh is asking how to improve visibility of our work. So there's a differentiation that you have given, Rakesh. I appreciate the phraseology of your question. How to improve the visibility of our work. Now, this is another interesting perspective that you have brought. Many of us, I don't know why, but perhaps it's because of our upbringing, we are told not to brag about our work, not to tom-tomming about it. बहुत ज्यादा बोलना नहीं चाहिए अपने काम के बारे में, चुपचाप से काम करते रहो. This is perhaps what is there in our thought process, and there's nothing wrong about it. However, in the work environment that we are in today, it's very important to let the world know this is what is done by you. And it starts with your own team. It starts with your immediate seniors. Then whatever platform, let's say you are in a meeting, and the work that you have done, the project that you are a part of, that is being discussed, you must be vocal about what is the contribution that you have made. You must make sure that your name is taken when it is presented to other people, that who were the people involved. Otherwise, what is very commonly happening, because of perhaps there's an issue of values here. What is very commonly happening is the work of X is taken over by Y and credit is taken by the Y person. Is it not happening? And you must stand up to that. This is how you'll be able to increase the visibility of your work. If there are platforms available within the organization, intranet, if there is a communication channel within the organization, let's say there's a forum available, there are discussion groups available, there is, let's say, e-magazine which is being created, that's where you need to mention what is the nature of work you are doing, problems that you are solving. And that is how the visibility of your work will go up. And it's a right thing to do, right? So perhaps that's my perspective on that. So thanks for being here, everyone. It was a good about half an hour of conversation. And the idea is to do at least one live session every week and add my value through the experience that I have been through in my life of working for 22 years in State Bank, then a couple of other organizations, and then interacting with over 30,000 plus participants in different sets of programs. And the whole, my whole mission is about adding value to people, making their lives simpler, making their professional journey easier, and at the same time, enjoy the journey, be happy with the journey. This is the intention with which I'm working. So thanks for being here, and I'll meet you in my next live session. Bye-bye.